Thank you, Lacey, for that kind introduction, and thank you to Terry and Steve for having me. Terry reached out to me a couple months ago and asked if I want to talk about hiring veterans on Silicon Slopes. Being a veteran and also working at Iron Flash that hires a lot of veterans, I was very excited. What I learned from the previous two presentations is, one, I'm a result of motivation, and two, I'm very clearly burned out. Oh, that was my mind taking a break. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so that's me. I retired Lieutenant Colonel Marine Corps in the, retired Lieutenant Colonel in the Marine Corps after training. As the note says up there, the data pulled from here is from a bunch of government sites. I don't try to take credit for the data, but I do want to be a conduit to educate people who are more proficient at hiring veterans. Also, a number of the photos up here are from the 2018 Veterans Affairs Handbook. Before I get into the information, I want to ask a couple quick questions. Is anyone here a veteran? Actively serving or has served? Okay, stand up. Thank you very much to you three. If you could all give them a quick round of applause. Thank you. Okay. My next question is anyone here a spouse of someone in the military? Can you two stand up? Give them a louder round of applause. Thank you, Lacey. Thank you, Ness. Trust me, in many regards, they serve our country more than those who actually communicate. So thank you both. The next question is, and it'll be a rhetorical question because I do have a time limit, what's the unemployment rate here or in the US? I assume this crowd knows, but as of July, it's 3.7%. Next question then would be, what's the unemployment rate here in Utah? Again, I'll assume we all know, and someone over here just spit it out, 2.8%. In fact, for the past, Utah is again the second highest job creator with a growth rate of 3% on jobs. So way to go, Utah. However, what that means is that we are in a very difficult climate to hire qualified people to fill our roles. So a great place to do so is the military. So I'll break the military down by numbers, and I'll start with the US population. As of July of 2019, the US population was 327,200,000. Active duty US military was 1,400,000, and those who have served was 20,200,000. I'll do the simple math for you, it's already up there. So actively serving, that means 0.4% of our US population serves. Not 4%, 0.4%. Okay, when we double that with everyone who has served, that now comes out to be 6.5%. So every 6 to 7 people out of 100 that you walk by are going to be military members. And that was somewhat demonstrated when I asked who served in the military. Okay, at I Am Flash, we love military. We know they fit well in our culture. We're familiar with the tangible and intangible benefits. We aggressively recruit to the MOSs that feed our skill sets. Because of that, our population is greater than 15% military. That's more than twice what the US population is. So, way to go, team, I Am Flash. Okay, so now to the room writ large. Every year, about 200,000 to 250,000 people leave the US military and look for jobs. That means every month, about 16,000 to 20,800 people are looking for jobs, straight from the military. So let's break it down for Utah. In FY18, between 2,001 to 4,999 people left the military and moved to Utah. Either they were from Utah or they're like me, net migration, and they moved here, predominantly in Salt Lake City. So in a community where we are 3.7% unemployment nationally, or 2.8% in Utah, that's a continuous pipeline of qualified people that we can hire. 75% of those people range in age from 17 to 34. 25 range from age 35 to 55 plus. In that 55 plus, I don't fall in it, but that 55 plus is about 5 or 6% of that growth. Now the DI in the military. I'm going to go over, I think, 3 points that I've heard while I was in the military and after, and they're sort of misnomers. This first one is, hey, the military isn't diverse, right? I'll answer that with a rhetorical question. What's diversity? First off, let's look at the US. You can start up there at Caucasian, go all the way down to 2 or more races. To me, diversity is an accurate representation of the population that you're hiring from or you're working in. So in the US military, we have, to go to the US first, Hispanic is at 16%. US military is 12%. African American, US is 12%, military is 17%. Asian, US is 4.8%, military is 4%. And then the yellow line for the military is all the others, which is Native Americans, Native American Indians, Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders, all the others, and that's about 7%. I don't know, but that's pretty darn diverse. And I feel pretty proud and confident to say that without a doubt, the military is the most diverse organization I ever worked in, and probably will be the most diverse organization I ever have worked in by the time I depart this earth. Going to the next one. Well, okay, that's fine, but clearly the military isn't inclusive, right? I can tell you from experience, the military, the only inclusive factor is performance and performance alone. If the person to my left and right, as I cross the dotted line into enemy territory, looks exactly like me and is 100% incompetent, they're endangering my life. If they look nothing like me, but are proficient and competent, then they are value added, and we are going to have teamwork and be more apt to accomplish the mission and perform as we're expected to be. So that to me is inclusion. Another indicator of inclusion is, do we have URMs rising to highest ranks? So in July of 2019, Lieutenant General, that's the three-star general for those that don't know, Laura Richardson assumed command of U.S. Army North. Huge command. Lieutenant General Bolden, Marine Corps three-star general, went on to retire and then become the 12th director of NASA. He was an F-4 pilot in the Marine Corps, then an F-18 pilot. I flew a couple times with him. Again, URMs rising to the highest ranks. His son actually served with me. He's my age class as well. But General Bolden and Director Bolden is a great person. Then the next one you may have seen on LinkedIn recently. In June of 2019, Captain Annalisa Satz, first Marine pilot, female pilot. That sounds like, okay, well, why is she just now the first Marine F-35 pilot? Well, the F-35 has only been in service for about a year and a half, 2 years. And we just selected the first 2 pilots about 6 months ago or so to transition to the F-35 straight out of the Fleet Replacement Squadron. There were only 2. One was male, one was female. And I can tell you, when I started my aviation career back in 95, 96, I got winged in 97, I went through with the first cadre of Marine female aviators. To me, there's been nothing different than inclusion. It's been status quo for me. We went through Top Gun in 2004. I went through with the first female pilot to go through Top Gun. Her call sign was Sam, her last name was Adams. Great aviator. Okay, now another quick thing is education. And this one I didn't really realize, but at some point I gave a talk at Lockheed Martin as far as a users conference in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. And I went to Chicago to meet with some friends for dinner. And I went to college with these friends, and one of them had said after talking over dinner, hey, I'm really surprised how educated you are and how educated the people in the military are. And I was like, well, I know you mean that as a compliment, but as a pretty backhanded compliment. And I started to really understand that people had this perception of the military not being that educated. Well, again, let's go to the data. Up here, the green data is the US population. The gold bars are the enlisted population, and the silver bars are the officer population. The US population, generically, if you look at the bachelor's degrees, there's 19% of those in the US population, 7% enlisted. You think, okay, well, they're outperforming the enlisted. That's sort of a misnomer. If you go to that picture in the upper right, the military education trajectory, especially for our enlisted folk, take on a different trajectory. Many of them join the military so that they can afford to pay for their education. They get it after they get out. Now, more representative, as you look at the officer population, and we look at bachelor's degrees, the US population is at 7% and the officer population is at 42%. If we look at advanced degrees, the US population is at 1%, the officer population is at 42%. Again, 4 in 10 officers have advanced degrees. I had 2, an MBA and a Master's of National Security and Strategic Studies. Okay, so why do we hire veterans, or why should you hire veterans? for a number of the tangible and intangible benefits. First off, we start with MOS. What's our military occupational specialty? We're more than just that. People look at it and say, hey, an infantry officer, great, you can carry a gun, run through the woods, and lead Marines or lead soldiers. That's not the case. It's a bunch of the intangibles that come along with it. To a T, everyone in the military seeks out education. We have a propensity and an expectation to learn in everything we do because we are continually seeking self-improvement. We want to be the best at what we do all the time. Next is teamwork. Nothing breeds teamwork like the military. When you cross the dotted line, that sisterhood and brotherhood of arms, it's second to none. You must work together to succeed, and we carry that with us to the corporate sector. We expect to work well with our teams. Next is D&I. We talked about D&I a little bit before, but what I'll say here is that when you join the military, whether you're an airman, seaman, soldier, or Marine, that's what you are, an airman, seaman, soldier, or Marine. We don't care what you look like. We don't care about your race, ethnicity, religion, sexual preference. We just don't care. We care if you're going to perform and if you're going to perform well when it's needed. That takes us to the next one, performance. We're expected to do it right and do it right the first time because not doing it right the first time has a tax. And many times that tax is life. Now we talk about performance and performance under pressure. I don't know about you, but the highest pressure is having mortars rain down on you, flying over your head, or missiles coming up at your aircraft. I'm pretty sure I can take someone getting upset in a boardroom. I'll handle it. And 9 times out of 10, if not 99 out of 100, it probably won't be me getting upset. Next is adherence to procedures. We're taught from day one we have to adhere to them because missing them may cost our lives. That translates well to many things that the civilian wants is adherence to those procedures. Then culture of success. Mission accomplishment is just assumed. You have to accomplish it. And the US military has a renowned reputation for succeeding at the missions. So if you think about performance and the culture for success, when you hire military, you're hiring that mindset. Then leadership, every military member from a private to a general is taught to lead from day one. Sometimes it'll start as 2 or 3 people, but it'll end up as thousands of people. And then intuition. Intuition, people think you have it or you don't. It's trained in the military. It's trained, they put you in stressful situations, they give you information, they expect you to make decisions. Those decisions are usually made with 85 to 90% of the data, and most of the time, that is just as good of the decision as with 100%. The difference is when you wait to 100%, that decision point has left you. It's gone, and you've missed the ball. So you can't have analysis paralysis, and intuition prevents you from having that. Then critical feedback. Military members are going to disagree with you because we're taught that it's our lives are on the line. A private or a general can kill me just as easily as someone that looks just like me. So I've got to think critically at all times. You have those discussions in the boardrooms or behind closed doors, and then you come to a logical conclusion and you're on the same sheet of music at that point. And then creativity and integrity, you need it. Initiative integrity. When you hire military, they have the initiative to do their job, but when things aren't working right to the right and left, they're just going to do it because they know it needs to get done. So to circle back, I wasn't, it's not all about the MOS. I was never a director of safety or an inspector general until someone said you're a director of safety or inspector general, and both those roles covered 90,000 Marines over 52% of the globe. I was never in that role before that time. When you look at transitioning veterans, they weren't, being that infantry officer isn't going to translate to what your ideal role is, but I guarantee you they have the ability to learn that role very expeditiously, and in the military it's just assumed that that's what they do. Last thing, speed of trust. Up here, for 17 years running, nursing is the highest trusted profession. Military officer is the second one with 71%. So when we think about things get done quickly with speed of trust, that's what you get when you hire military. And if you go down to that bottom, or in the middle, you see clergy at 42%. At the bottom is lobbyists at 8%. Coupled with lobbyists are used car salesmen and yes, con. Okay, last slide, hiring veterans. There's a number of ways to hire veterans through not-for-profits. I'm not here to advertise for them. You can look them up on your own time. The next one is Veterans Opportunity to Work. There's a couple websites up there. if you hire a veteran, depending on what status that veteran is and your company, your organization may qualify for tax, for incentives and tax credits, okay? Then you have the DoD Skill Bridge. This came about in the past year and a half, 2 years. It stands for Department of Defense Skill Bridge. Think of it as a free internship to your organization. Its military members in the last 6 months before they transition, they're allowed to get permission to work at an organization, and they are paid and get benefits by the military. That's a free internship to your organization if you use it. It works well when there's a military organization in your backyard. There's Hill Air Force Base right up the road. And it also works well if people are transitioning from, say, Pendleton or the Pentagon, and they grew up in Utah and they want to live here. That would be a great fit as well. So transitioning is a large hill to climb. I would say, can you help a transitioning veteran? And if you do, I would say it will benefit your organization.